Good morning, it's Amy and Tim from Go With Less. We are in Berlin this morning and today it was a busy day. So what we're going to be showing today is the Stasi Museum that we visited, very low cost.
And then we're going to head over to the Topography of Terror, which is where the former SS headquarters used to be.
Yep, and that was free. In between we had a really affordable lunch, and at the end we went to the Berlin Philharmonic for a free concert. So please join us on our day. Hi, it's Amy and Tim from Go With Less. Today we are in Berlin and we got on the subway and then the tram to come about 4.5 miles out into the really deeper into East Berlin to learn about communism.
So we're at the Stasi. It's a former prison, and I can't pronounce the name of the facility.
It's a very
here,
long name.
But it's where they used to do interrogation. The Stasi used to do interrogation. This is for anybody who said anything bad about the communist regime,
put up
or
flyers,
political prisoners,
demonstrated,
and basically the simplest of
mentioned
things.
to anybody that they were thinking about leaving.
Yep, you would be brought here, interrogated, and potentially sent on to a worse place or a different place. So this was a pretty bad place in and of itself.
And by the way, sometimes these things weren't even factual. So not only do these not seem like such a big deal to us, but they're not even necessarily factual. In order to come here, it's a very affordable thing to do. It's €6 per person, and you must do it with a guide if you're going to go in. So they offer English tours 3 times a day. They offer German several times more than that. But we had a very interesting tour, and it was a 30-minute movie about this, and then 90 minutes inside.
So even if you choose, so that, as Amy said, these are timed, scheduled things, like there's going to be an English language tour at a certain time.
Yeah.
You can just show up and you pay your €6 and you're welcome to go on the tour. However, there is a free exhibit that's here, so this would be worthwhile to come out, even if you don't plan to be on the tour.
Which the tour was worth doing.
It certainly was, but there is an exhibit here where we could have spent several hours just doing the exhibit that's on the grounds here, and that's a completely free thing. There is also an audio guide to that in several different languages. Also, most of there are subtitles on all of the exhibit displays that are in English, so it's in German, excuse me, and in English.
Okay, so just as a recap, you could do the exhibition, which is really like an enormous museum about communism in the GDR and in Berlin, and that is completely free. It's open 7 days a week. It's open until 8 p.m., maybe every single day, and you just show up. But the tour is something that's a special, separate thing. We got to stand in things like the cells and saw what life looked like in here, and it was awful. So you're going to see some still photos and some of the description in the YouTube notes down below.
Yep.
So we're going to keep going with some more cheeriness in Berlin.
Thanks.
Hi, we are at a little lunch stop. We aren't at the place behind us, but we went to a grocery store. What's the grocery store? We've been there a lot.
It's called Lidl, L-I-D-L. Not
Probably
sure
mispronouncing that
right,
too.
but yeah.
Yeah, but we had our breakfast from there today. Tim got his coffee from there today. We had our dinner from there yesterday. Here's our little pizza. I think this was like, I don't know, and then we each got a salad like this.
It was
And there's
about, oops, sorry.
it was, and it comes with a little fork in it.
Under $7 for all this.
Yeah, maybe even under $6 US dollars. It was like €5.70,
Yep.
which is probably about $6-ish. But it's a really good way to have an affordable lunch. So I wanted to show that we've talked about going to the grocery stores, but we are actually living it. So I wanted to show you.
I believe this is called the Freedom Fountain in Alexanderplatz.
We are at the Topography of Terror, which is the SS headquarters in Berlin. And I wanted to show as we're walking in, here's the line of where the Berlin Wall used to be. The one on the left, the bricks. Hi, we just finished taking a tour of something called the Topography of Terror. During World War II, at the end of World War II, the SS Gestapo headquarters was bombed and decimated, and nothing was here for some time. The people of Berlin demanded that something stand here to show what had happened.
Based upon what I saw here, I believe they started to construct this facility in 1985. So it's on the East Berlin side of the where it stands right next to the wall, and so the facility is free. So it's free to come in and see the exhibits. Amy and I spent about an hour and a half here. You could easily spend, I think, 3 or 4 hours here. There's also a free audio guide that is in multiple languages, and that you can get for free as well. You just give them your ID, and they give you the audio guide. This was it's something you need to see, and so but it has a lot of history is here, and they've done a great job of putting this together, and so there's this is something that should definitely be on your list of things to do if you're here in Berlin.
Yes.
Hi, we're here at what remains of the Berlin Wall. There's a small segment of the wall here. Actually, all throughout town, we were told there's a brick line that runs through town showing where the wall used to stand. And so there's a short segment here that's still standing to commemorate, I guess, the existence of the wall. And so it's right at the Topography of Terror Museum, but this still stands today.
It's an exhibit below the wall.
Hi. Amy does an amazing job of finding free stuff for us, and so tonight we found something with the Berlin Philharmonic. We don't exactly know who the performers were. They seem to be younger, but they certainly were professional. At least the caliber of their performance was professional. So it was a nice little thing. We actually saw, I think, 3-4 movements.
We left a little early, so
Yep.
it was free. I don't know if Tim said that. And we did a little role reversal. I slept like 7 times through 3 pieces. I was so tired
awake
from
the
our
whole
day.
time.
Tim was awake. I could not stay awake. So off we go to have our dinner. And when Tim said that, thank you, Tim, that I do find a lot of fun stuff. Our
Fun
friend
free
might have
stuff.
fun free stuff. Our friend might have found this for us. I don't remember if this was
Ah,
already
that's
on my
right.
radar. It might have already been, but nonetheless, she might have found it for us. So when you are traveling or when you want free entertainment, go look at performing arts events and complexes, because there are all sorts of things happening at them for no charge. Universities, I mean, they're all over the place. So keep an eye out, and you might find something for free. There we go.
Thanks.
So there was our day. That was a pretty rough day, and we're going to do a little framework around what we saw, specifically with the Stasi prison. We weren't so familiar, to be honest, with what the Stasi was before we got this trip booked. And as far as our understanding, once World War II was over, Germany was separated among 4 different countries: the Soviets, the United States, the French, and the British. They all took a chunk of Germany. So the Soviets got the eastern part of Germany, and also of Berlin. So they came in soon after the war and instituted communism, and that is kind of where the Stasi Museum picked up. So the Soviets were absolutely brutal, like beyond, like what you saw is just a little part.
It wasn't necessary. It was initially the Soviets, and then actually the government that was instituted in what was the GDR, which the GDR is actually what we might think of as East Germany. And so the regime that was there was doing their best to make sure that the people were in line with communism. If you weren't, if you did something as simple as you put up a sign, you put together a sign and you held that up that said, I read a story about a 19-year-old that said if he put together a sign that was protesting the government, he was sent to prison for 2 years for that simple protest.
And by the way, and just as a heads up, it didn't have to be even so dramatic as a sign. You could have mentioned any displeasure against the government.
If you wanted to leave.
If you said, I'd like to go. So the sign is like so far beyond what some people did to be found in this place. And so things that I read on my Facebook friends every single day.
I think every friend we have would be in prison today.
Every friend we have would have been in prison. And they checked your mail. They bugged you. This is regular people. So there were 90,000 people employed by the Stasi. So the Stasi is the East German side that took over after the Soviets left to police the people and to keep them in line, as Tim mentioned. So they're checking their mail, they're bugging their phone, they have wiretaps in their homes.
And you couldn't just sign up to be a Stasi member. Basically, you had to be invited to join the club.
And there were 90,000 of them.
Yep.
So what that meant also is that there were an enormous amount of informants and spies. So if you were to say to anybody, I'm thinking of leaving, I'm not happy, I don't like what's happening, that person could very well be a spy, and now you are, not only are you in trouble, but so is everyone in your family. So if your niece is going to college in East Germany, that niece, because you expressed displeasure, that niece may have their ability to go to college revoked completely, and your mother may be tortured and sent to prison. So this was, we wanted to put a little framework around that Stasi experience because we weren't so familiar with the word Stasi before we booked this trip, and only after researching were we really familiar. And the prison yesterday, so we're not talking about like murderers and things like that. We're talking about people who simply expressed any dissidence against communism in any way, and it was a very dramatic experience for us to see that in person. So that was a big part of our day yesterday. Obviously a rough day with the SS Gestapo headquarters visit. Thankfully it got a little uplift with some music. But what we have up for tomorrow is more communism. So we're going to visit a place called the Palace of Tears, which is about like life for the layperson in the GDR, and a street art tour. So that should be a good one tomorrow.
Some
we're
levity.
hoping. Yeah, some levity. Oh, well, actually, my art can have a combination.
Be better.
Some creativity. We'll go with that. And so let's see you tomorrow. Thanks.